Well, hi again, everyone. It's Rob Ryder, and it is Wednesday, the 27th of November, 2024, day before Thanksgiving. And today, J.D. Vance, U.S. Marine, be advised, can't means won't. You, sir, you can do for enlistees and the President of the United States. And the wonderful thing is, sir, you can do it under your oath of enlistment, which we're going to look at in just a minute, which puts you in a completely different group of people than everybody else because you have a contract with the United States. You sign the DD Form 4, just like every other enlistee. And because we all joined during a war, which has been going on since December 7th, 1941, ask President Trump. He's the one that signed it into law under the Legion Act, 2019 Legion Act, where they took out all the different stipulations. The only stipulation being if you're going to be a member of the American Legion, you had to serve during the time of war. And now it's from 1941, December 7th, until today, and it will remain so until Congress ends the war. It's all in the act. The president, so the executive branch and the legislative branch agreed. Anyways, so that's a big deal for me. That's the enlisted part that's big for me because that means all enlistees are still in the military. And, well, we've been being paid all this time. We're just not getting the benefit of it. But I'm sure it's going into a fund or into an account very similar to the retirees or the military retirement fund. Some fund that's being kept by the Treasury because technically we're all considered missing. Possibly considered prisoners of war. And none of us have an ID card. We've never been issued an ID card, so we can't prove our status. And these are all things, sir, that need to be talked about. But really, the first thing that needs to be talked about is come inauguration day, you got to make sure that Trump does his oath right. Because if he doesn't, it's a waste of fucking time for everybody in the United States. That's what we're going to talk about today. And I am Rutluski Robert Allen, DOD ID number 12112800006. Sir, you can find me in the book. Also known as Rob Ryder. Email quarterrecord@AOL.com. YouTube, Rob Ryder with 3 B's, and Rumble. More recently, videos, Rob Ryder with 2 B's. Maybe it should have been from the beginning. So yeah, let's start with what the oath says that Trump is supposed to take. And then I'm going to show you what he did last time, and we can both agree then that what he didn't do what he was supposed to, and he was doing what he was told by an esquire, who's impersonating as a justice of the Supreme Court, because unless he can prove that he took an oath to be an attorney from his state bar way back in the day, he can never have been a judge nor a justice. You have to, be blessed off by somebody's regulations, and they haven't been. Okay, hang on, sir. Take me just a minute to get to the stuff I need to show you, and we'll go from there. Well, let's just first talk about you. So, American Navy. This is your website. What it says down here is the enlisted oath. That I state your name, right? Your full legal name, Robert Allen Rutluski, is what I put in mind. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States, the orders of the officer appointed over me, according to regulations of the Uniform and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. So, that's an oath of enlistment, which is not the same as the oath required by the 6th officer for their office. This is just if you enlist. And by having taken this oath and putting your name in there, you just agreed that you would obey the orders of the President of the United States. So we got to make sure that we have one. And what they're going to do is make sure that the guy that we believe is going to be the President of the United States doesn't take his oath right. It's in the Constitution. And so he won't have done it right. Then he won't be the president. And everything else would just be an act of people assuming office instead of people who have actually holding the office. But one thing I'd like to point out before I leave is if we went by the law of commas, right, I should be able to like stop at this comma here after enemies and pull all this stuff out till we get down to here, according to regulations, and just say that I do solemnly swear I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. And so if I was in the military, I should be able to use military regulations, like Army regulations. You could use the Navy's, it doesn't matter. They're all going to cover the same subjects. And the Uniform Code of Military Justice against the shit that's happening all around us, because all the people who are assuming power didn't take a proper oath of office. And yet they're doing what they do in an office that is displaying a gold fringe flag, which is a military flag. They're doing it under military authorization. They just don't, nobody's there to watch over their shoulder. That's what veterans should be doing. And that's what you're going to allow us to do by getting us our ID cards. More on that later. Okay, so I'm looking in the manual court martials in the Appendix A, which is where there's a copy of the Constitution of the United States. And it says that as far as the president, now we're speaking, this is the oath he's going to take. I do solemnly swear I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States. I will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. No more. See, there's no so help me God at the end. So help me God is a religious test. It's a different than saying, like it says in the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God, which has already been determined. Well, that's just a patriotic slogan. It's not religious. Supreme Court, they've already ruled on that kind of stuff. But what they say is religious is a prayer. And when you say, so help me God, that's a petition to the Lord to give you guidance, right? So that's a religious test. You can't have it in an oath according to the Constitution, but as we'll see, that plenty of people are doing it. In fact, you did it as a senator. You didn't take the oath you're supposed to take to satisfy the 6th article. You took something that was handed to you that has the so help me God clause in it, which is a religious test. But back to what we're supposed to do, not what happens. So what do you do? Well, you go back to the Constitution, sir. You say, well, the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States. Well, check. That's the dude I want to have the power. The president of the United States. And for him to have the power of president of the United States, he has to take this oath right here just the way you see it without any deviations. No deviations allowed, sir. However, let's see what he did. Okay, so this only takes about a minute or so. I'm just going to let him ramble on, and we'll talk about it at the end. But listen close at the very beginning. I, Donald John Trump. He was wrong after the comma. Check it out.
Repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Can we stop right there? Right? He had the intention of doing the right thing, I'm sure, but he was led down the primrose path by an esquire. Esquire, by definition, by the way, is a crown agent. And they're members of the British Bar. It's not hard to figure out, well, that's really an invading army. Right? They're the administrative state that's run by esquires. And they've encircled the camp. So all that needs to be done to undo their spell is for Donald John Trump to take the oath just the way it said, which is don't put in your name, sir, and don't say so help me God at the end, please. Right? It's really that simple. And if J.D. Vance, U.S. Marine, to make sure he did that, he can be vice president. If you can't make him do that, then he doesn't deserve to be vice president. So before we leave, the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States. Check. That's the guy on my oath. That's the guy that needs to have the power. And how does he get the power? He does this oath over here just the way it says. I, there's no place to put your name in, like it showed on the oath of enlistment. There's no line to put your name in. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Period. No, so help me God. That's what he needs to do, sir, but what do you need to do? Let's talk about you again for a minute. If we go to the 6th article, we'll see that the senators, representatives before mentioned, and members of several state legislatures, and all ALL executives of the executive and judicial officers of both the United States and the several states shall be bound by oath of information to support this Constitution, but no religious test, so help me God, shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. Well, unfortunately, the oath that senators, representatives, and the people we would think are the executive branch officers and so forth, they're all taking an oath that comes out of Title V of the United States Code, 5 U.S.C. 3331. It's the one you took as a senator. The one you should have taken, though, is this one, which is the very first law of the United States after the Constitution was ratified, signed into law by none other than George Washington, in which it says that the oath or affirmation required by a 6th Constitution of the United States shall be administered in the form following. I, A.B. Hey, you got to put your name in. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States. And that has no help me God or anything else. That oath has to be taken by every officer of the United States and of the several states. And I'm going to let you decide who that is, sir, but that means to me just about anybody that has an office created federally by the Congress, creating an agency. Well, you're all officers of the United States now because they're going to be under the executive branch. And all state officers, but nobody's taken that oath. And this goes on, it's a little 2-page act that says how they're supposed to do it, that it's supposed to be recorded, and that the Secretary of the House and the Clerk of the House, Secretary of the Senate, they're supposed to take this oath. Right? So it'd be easy enough to have this stuff subpoenaed if you could find somebody to do it, sir. And one way to have it done is to go to the military. And where it would be difficult for me to convince them that I can go to the military, you can certainly go to the military and have a court-martial convened to do an inquiry to see if the people that are supposed to have taken oath to satisfy the 6th article took the fucking oath. And you'll find out they didn't, and we can clean house and start over. Stop the charade. I mean, it must not have been clear enough to the several states what the law said, so they put it in Title IV of the United States Code also, which says the same thing. It's got the same oath, right? Who's got to take it? Every member of the state legislature, every executive judicial officer of a state. So if you're going to a court then here in Michigan, then that judge there had better have taken this oath here, or he's not a state judge. And if he's not a state judge, then what laws is he enforcing on me that are going to allow them to take my property or give me a fucking ticket or some other bullshit? Right? It's time to tell us the truth, sir. I mean, I believe it's all military myself. These are all military tribunals that are out of control because they're run by federal contractors under the jurisdiction of the military, and that the military is sucking their thumb and won't step up and issue the frickin' documents that need to be done because you know why? Because guess who's in JAG? A bunch of esquires. Right? We need a commander. We need a Cornelius, a centurion, commander of Caesarea to issue a fucking, to start a court of inquiry. That'd be the answer, sir. We could all take the rest of the week off. Just so we're crystal clear, sir, this is Title 10, United States Code, right, for the Armed Forces. Section 506, it says enlistment in the regular Army, regular Navy, regular Air Force, regular Marine Corps. I would say that's probably where you were, sir, regular Marine Corps. Or regular Coast Guard, in effect at the beginning of a war or entered into during a war unless sooner terminated by the President, continues in effect until 6 months after the termination of that war. You have a law degree, sir? Well, I mean, did you go to law school? If you didn't take the oath of your state to be an attorney, you're not licensed to practice, but you still may have gone to the schools. So you would have to say, well, that would mean that you are still in the military if we're saying that the war has been going on since Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941. It's written in the Legion Act. It's all right there. Boom, 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 right? So you're still a corporal in the Marine Corps. How come they don't know that? How come you don't have an ID card? How come, right? Well, number one, because it's to somebody else's advantage that we have those entitlements, but we're not the ones getting the benefit of it, that somebody else is getting the benefit. Yeah, them kind of people. One last thing before we move on, sir. In the Constitution that the Senate uses, it says in Article 2 that the executive power shall be vested in the President of the United States of America. It doesn't say the same as this, and this is the one that's in the Constitution of the United States. This is Appendix A of the Manual for Court Martials, and quite honestly, I mean, the Army has existed before the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution, right? So whatever the Army says is good enough for me, and if they're saying this is the Constitution, then I'm happy with it. Because this is the one that says the executive power is vested in the President of the United States, and that's the one we took an oath of office to. I didn't take an oath of office to the President of the United States of America. All right, sir. So if we can just, for a minute, look at your Wikipedia site, where it talks about J.D. Vance and his early life and military, and, well, at the age of 17, his first job, check. Graduated from high school, check. You enlisted in the Marine Corps, check, check, check. Served as military journalist in the 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing. Well, outstanding. And then I decided, well, what does that mean? What's a military journalist? Well, I had an idea. That's always good to go read them. And sure enough, they got a whole long thing about what that means as far as a job description. But really what it means is that you're supposed to be the answer to propaganda. You're supposed to bring the truth to power. And the power are the people, so let's go tell the people the truth. And I'm going to show you something you please can verify for us all. And that would be this, that under the Geneva Convention, which is an international treaty, which by definition then is the supreme law of the land, according to the 6th article of the Constitution, right? It joins the supreme law of the land, and it says that each party to a conflict is required to furnish the persons under its jurisdiction who are liable to become prisoners in war with an identity card showing the owner's surname, first names, rank, army, regimental, personal, or other serial number or equivalent information, and date of birth. Okay, well, that's what that says. And by gosh, so does the DoD Law Award Manual. It says that parties to the GPW must provide persons under their jurisdiction who are liable to become POWs with identity cards. The identity cards must show owner's surname, first names, first and middle names. Don't say nothing about no stinking initials. Right? It's going to be Retluski, comma, Robert Allen. That's what we're talking about. Rank, Army, serial number, DOD ID number, and date of birth. Well, guess what? There's no freaking date of birth on ID cards. If there is, somebody please show me, right? Because the ones I'm looking at, they don't have one. In fact, I'm going to show you what I looked at so we can all agree. Hang on. So apparently this is .mil website, right? That these are the old style. I remember I had a green one that looked just like that. And it said Armed Forces United States at the top and Geneva Convention identification card at the bottom. And this is supposed to be the new one. Okay, well, I don't see where it says a Geneva Convention card, but I also don't see where it has anybody's date of birth on it. But I don't believe that this one had date of birth on it either. And so let me go see if I can find a better example of that one. Hang on. We'll find one that I can enlarge. It's a little bit difficult, but I can read this. It says Armed Forces United States, Geneva Convention's identification card, and it's got Joe, John B. Well, we just said you can't have any initials. It said you had to use middle name. First and middle names. Nothing about an initial. And then DOD identification number. Yeah, I can see that. Expiration. Yeah. Pay grade. Yeah. Affiliation. Yeah. But, brother, where is the birth date? There's no birth date. So we're not issuing anybody the proper ID card. And that's a freaking treaty violation. I would think that would matter to the President of the United States. That his employees have gotten his nation into that situation. Here's one a little better. Yeah, this has been like I remember. Armed Forces United States, Geneva Convention Identification Card. Campbell, comma, John T. No, you can't have a middle initial. A signature, got a rank, got the Army or what his unit is, got the expiration date, Social Security number. Now I guess it's a DOD ID number, but what it doesn't have is a fucking birth date on it. A DOB. I mean, can we read the law again for just a second? It says the owner's surnames, first names, rank, Army, personal serial number, equivalent information, and date of birth. That's what the Geneva Convention said. So what did we say we were going to do? Well, that's what the convention wants. Let's do this instead. We're going to have owner's surname, which is their last name, first names, i.e. first and middle names. You see any place for an initial? No, 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 no. Rank, Army, regiment, personnel, or serial number, either your Social Security or your DOD ID number, and date of birth. And it doesn't have it on there. And so what you're seeing, JD, is how the administrative state works way down in the weeds, right? Because the devil's in the details. And there's a detail that's been missed that put the United States in violation of an international treaty. So we have no standing as the United States. And the people that are pretending to be the United States, well, they didn't take an oath of office anyway, so they're not the United States. I'm not taking responsibility for them. I'm going to have them all arrested because they're all impersonating as senators and congressmen. So, that shit's got to be addressed. And since we're talking about IDs, I thought I'd throw this one in here. Here's the kind that you would get or would have in the past. I don't know if they still do this. If you were 100% disabled. It could be a Department of Defense, Uniformed Services, identification, and so it's not a Geneva Convention card, but it does have your surname and then comma, first name, or Brian Keith. There's no initials on this one. And the status and what organization you are with and what your status is, indefinite. And so this is if you get 100% rating through the VA. They'll have you get on and get this card. But if you can get this card, then he should also be getting retirement because this shows that you're indefinitely in the military. And if you have a VA-rated disability of 30% or more, you're eligible for retirement. But they don't give it to you. Not yet. That's what I'm here for, trying to get it for everybody. So anyway, JD, way back in the day when you when you went to the MEP station, you filled out some paperwork like this. It says enlistment, reenlistment document, Armed Forces of the United States. Notice it does not say United States of America. If you have a discharge document, it'll say Armed Forces of the United States of America on it. But that isn't where you signed in. It's not who you have a contract with. You have a contract with the Armed Forces of the United States, and you're looking at one. For Lusky Robert Allen, using my Social Security number. And, mine's no different than the rest of them. They all say the same. So in here, they had the section about for all enlistees and reenlistees, and it gives the points that, hey, these are the stipulations of our contract. And one of them here is entitled to receive pay allowances and other benefits as approved by law and regulation. So as long as you're enlisted, you're entitled to receive pay. Allowances, other benefits, and they're all being withheld from us, as is the ID card, which is why they don't want us to have the ID card, because then they have to give us this stuff. So I don't know that this isn't already being put in an account someplace. I'm just saying that they're not handing it out to the enlistee that is the enlistee. And so then to make it official, right, I'm always interested, they put the X in the box, and then you sign next to it, just like what they did with the Indians, where they'd write a name and say, here, put the X next to it. It's, done backwards. But there's the oath of office, right? So I'm in the book. I got signature, signature, signature. I have a contract with the Armed Forces of the United States, and it's still in effect. And I'd like to get my entitlements, sir. And then if you go dig through your paperwork, you're going to find, well, you got a DD Form 214 someplace, which everybody wants to make you believe it. Well, this is your discharge paper. But if anything, it just took you out of active duty, not separated you from the military, just releasing you from active duty. The problem is they're not really ever, I can't say they're not ever filled out, right? But I've never seen one that's been filled out properly. So in my case, I didn't sign it, which when you go look at, well, what does that mean? If you don't sign it, well, it means that you were discharged in absentia. Now you're AWOL. Well, where are you? It could be you're missing, right? It could be that you've been captured, POW. But you don't have an ID card to give your capturing force, so we're just going to treat you like a unprotected individual under the Geneva Convention. Instead of being a protected individual, we're seen as unprotected. Anyway, so this makes it look like I jumped ship. And but as it turns out, that this whole document, that there's regulations on how it needs to be filled out. So I wanted to show that just really quick, because if you're watching this video and you're in the military, you may want to go get these next couple of documents for yourself to look at to see what your situation is. And they would be Army Regulation 635-5, which has to do with separation documents. I don't care if you're not in the Army, it's the same document, just used for different ones. If you want to go find your branches, I don't care. I'm just saying find something for separation documents. And what was the other one? Then this one here, which is the Separation Program Designator Codes, which is a code that's on the DD-214. In fact, it's JBK, right? That's your separation code. You're going to find out that really has something to do with some stuff that nobody's telling us about. So just give me a second here. And in this regulation, you wouldn't have to go too far to find out, well, it says ensure all information on DD2 Form 214 and other separation documents is accurate. The DD Form 214 is of vital importance to the separating soldier and must be properly prepared according to prescribed guidance. No deviation is authorized. Well, ain't that some stuff? I wonder if they may have followed their rules or not. And I can tell you, well, no, they didn't follow the rules. Deviations. I guess, and then it should be pointed out that provide a narrative reason for separation to the Department of Veterans Affairs, Department of Labor, state directors, and so forth. And so what you need to understand is that DD-214 has got like 8 different copies that go to different places. That's in another regulation. I don't know if they cover that in here. There's actually one that shows here's the eight page document. And so one goes to the VA, and one goes to labor, and one goes to maybe your state, and you get 2 copies, and so forth and so on. So the point is that the Department of Veterans Affairs gets the same document, and it has the name the same way, Rutlusky, Robert Allen. But if you have anything to do with the VA, you're going to soon find out they never, hardly ever use that style name when they contact you. It's Robert A. Rutlusky or Rutlusky, Robert A. or all sorts of different ways, other than the way it should be, showing that they have it multiple ways in different databases. And that's supposed to be your personally protected information. They should only be using one style of name when they contact you. But that isn't what happens. It's part of the administrative state. Okay, so not too much farther down in Chapter 2, we're going to talk about doing this document, and it doesn't take long, and they're saying, well, this is how you complete the DD-214, and I tell you what goes in every block as you go down, so there's no reason for there to be any mistakes. If you go far enough, I talk about dental exam and treatment prior separation. That needs to be in there. And technically, if you didn't have a dental exam within a certain amount of time, then you can't be discharged, right? And so, like on mine, it says, no, I didn't have one. So you can't be discharged without having a dental exam. And then, where's the one on signature? We're almost there. Right here, signature of soldier, right? You're supposed to put in there soldier not available to sign. And we've already seen, well, there's no deviations allowed. What's in mine? Remember, unavailable for signature. Well, that's not what it said to put in the block. Well, where did it go? I lost it. Hang on a second. There we go. All right, soldier, not available to sign. Member unavailable for signature. Well, ain't that some doo-doo? That just means that they did it wrong. So I've not been properly discharged. This could never stand as your discharge document, I guess what I should say. There should be a discharge order and there should be a certificate and some other things, but none of it is this document. And then we got these separation codes. It says obtain correct entry from 6355-1, right? So that's where this other one comes in. This is 635-5-1 that will list all the different codes you could have, whether you're a officer or an enlistee. Right, separation program designated for officer personnel, and it starts giving all these different things with notes and so forth and how it was done, and got involuntary discharge, voluntary discharge, involuntary release. Okay, so, well, here's enlisted personnel. Now we're talking about me. Well, ain't that something? The very first one there is, JBK, which is supposed to be an involuntary discharge. I mean, that's what's on mine. I have a JBK, and it says completion of required active service, right? That's the narrative. Let's go look and see. I have to keep those over here. There we go. Mine says expiration term of service. JBK, expiration term of service. JBK, completion of required active service. They're not the same. And this regulation also says the narrative reason for separation will be entered in Block 28 of the DD Form 214, exactly as listed in Tables 2-2 or 2-3 of this regulation. No deviation is authorized. And yet it's not the same. What am I supposed to say? It's like, it's not right, sir. Okey smokes. So since this is so vital, I mean, to so many people, I'm going to just go through these. You won't even need to go download the form. Just go find your DD14 and see what your SBD code is, right? And see which one of these it falls under. These are the ones that were for officers, right? And some are involuntary discharge, which is what mine was in. The thing is, if you have an involuntary discharge, you're supposed to have gone to trial defense services and been counseled about your discharge. That's a whole other thing that's just going to take too long to get into. It's just too long, right? But anyways, just stop the tape real quick and pull these off and look. But these are the ones for the enlisted now, right? Pause. It's not on this page. No. Okay, let's continue on. Pause. Is it on that page? No? Okay. Pause some more. Right? And there, I think that's the end, right down there. Right? So everybody's going to be in one of those. Those are the codes. And the interesting thing, they have this LBK, KBK, and JBK, and they all say the same thing: completion of required service. So I could have easily, instead of being a JBK, been a KBK, which would be a voluntary discharge then, because that's what it should have been, is I was volunteering to leave. Because my reenlistment code is, go ahead and reenlist, no problem. Right? So, but it wasn't any of these. It was this other one, and JBK, but it has a wrong narrative, so It's just a simulated legal process. It's a document trying to pretend to be a DD-214. But if we're going to say, well, it matters what's in the blocks, then it's not a DD-214. It's a crime scene. So here's my DD-214. I didn't sign it. It's got the wrong narrative for not signing it. It has the wrong narrative for the separation code they put in, JBK, which is supposed to be for something that's like an involuntary discharge, except for the fact that my reenlistment code is RE1A, which the hell is that? All right, instruction sheets for Army reenlistment codes, RE1A, individuals with over 6 years of service for pay, fully qualified for enlistment, and eligible to reenlist for 93 days after date of separation. Ineligible to reenlist for 93 days after date of separation. I have to wait 93 days before I can go in again. 1 quarter. Another regulation to download, JD, is Army Regulation 600-8-6, which talks about how the commanders are supposed to account for their personnel and do strength reporting and stuff, and how, there's a chance you could fall through the cracks just by the way things are written in the regulation. But if you find yourself out of military control, then what you should do is surrender to military control. And I've been trying to do that for weeks now, and I've not had any luck. I'm going to show you an example in a second, but, that's what it is we need to return to military control because we've not been released. So just real quick, we should then pay attention to the fact that the Army does not recognize ad hoc systems, locally created databases as authoritative sources. The Electronic Military Personnel Office, the Email Pro, is the only approved system to account for all regular Army and Reserve component mobilized soldiers on active duty tour for 30 days or more within the Army. What does Email Pro say about me, sir? Then you got to talk about this per stat, and that's all the stuff they're supposed to keep, and right, that soldier accountability is responsibility of commanders at all echelons during peacetime, mobilization, combat, and other types of deployments. Commanders and staffs will ensure 100% PA of all personnel for the duration of military service. Unit commanders will account for their assigned attached personnel by verifying their full name, Department of Defense, CAC information, so forth and so on. So it's not hard to tell who we are. They're just not doing it. And the reason I point that out is because it's very easy then, sir, for it to be that, that we have a duty status code that has us on duty. It's just we're not there as present for duty. And so here they are, right? There's 20 different duty status codes. You could be administrative absence, absence without leave, captured, confined, hospital, interned. You could be missing in action, or you could just be missing, or it could be ordinary leave, or you could be present for duty. These are all the same. I mean, you're still on active duty if you're any of these. And what does it take to be missing? A soldier whose whereabouts and status are unknown, provided the absence appears to be involuntary. The type of casualty code can either be hostile or non-hostile. Then it gives this guy this command, which is the Casualty and Mortuary Command. They're listed up here. Casualty Mortuary Affairs Division. Right? Soldier captured by enemy forces. Well, that could be what happened. I could be interned, a soldier who is being detained by a foreign power, not at war with the United States. Well, that could be the United States of America. We could say, well, they're not at war with the United States. We're sharing the same territory, but nevertheless, they're keeping me from getting back to the United States. They're the administrative state. The administrative state is interned. Every enlistee. Right, here's my all-time favorite. That eventually you could be dropped from strength, which are these soldiers are dropped from accountability of the Army. However, they are DFS, dropped from strength of the Army for personal strength accounting purposes. Exclusion from regular Army strength does not by itself affect status of regular Army service member. DFS personnel may remain entitled to pay and benefits, except for prisoners of war and missing personnel. They remain members of a reporting unit until separated from the service or until they are reassigned by a higher authority. The POW missing personnel and transit accounts are managed by HRC. So if you don't show up, they could just drop you from strength. You're still in. You're still being paid. We're just not going to carry on the books, and you've disappeared. Right? Well, that pay is going someplace into an account, and it's being managed by some managers that are skimming from the top, and they much rather the money was in there than where it should have gone to. So, and they have these safeguards built in that, it's not like it's a windfall. If instead of being in the military, you got a really good job, made good money, well, we're not going to charge you for the money. We're not going to charge you for being AWOL. We're just not going to give you this money you could have had you stayed in. But the fact is you're still in and you got your time for retirement, and, we all have retirement waiting for us. And the ID card, which with the ID card allows us to go to the gold fringe flag jurisdiction, which is under the UCMJ, and we can go file charges and specifications against all these different federal agencies that are working under a gold fringe flag, which is a military flag of the United States, and say you're not following the laws of the United States. And use the Uniform Code of Military Justice. We don't have to go to the civilian courts, sir. We should be going to military courts under the UCMJ. I've been harping on that for a long time, so I'm going to stop now on that. Let me think about if there's anything else I wanted to mention. And so this is my favorite, returning soldiers to the rolls for dropped from rolls or a deserter. A soldier will be assessed into the strength of the regular Army from DFR, dropped from rolls, effective on the date they surrender to or are delivered to, apprehended by military authorities. Well, if that's what it takes, I surrender. Let's get the paperwork figured out, right? There's an error in the paperwork. Or drop from strength are confirmed to be a POW, prisoner of war, of a non-state actor or terrorist group, or missing. That's all they got to do is confirm that you're missing. Yeah, we don't know where he is. Well, you're missing. And you could be dropped from strength. So the report of drop from strength will not be reported as drop from rolls to the U.S. Army Deserter Information Point. So you won't be put in as a deserter then. You just be dropped from strength. A sole report as DFS will not be reported DFR, nor will a DFR package be prepared. A DA 4187 will not be prepared for the soldiers, so they're not going to do certain things, right? They're going to keep you hid. All right. Well, I'm going to stop there, sir, right? I mean, like I said, check your DD 214. You're going to find out you're still in the military. You're still in the military because the war has been going on since December 7th, 1941. Then you're supposed to have an ID card, and that ID card has to have these elements on it. And today, the people getting ID cards, I do not believe have an ID card that has date of birth on. So we're violating a Geneva Convention treaty today. It's got to be fixed. So, other people may have an excuse, but not you, sir. You took an oath as an enlistee, so I expect you to do the right thing. Just go to the military and go file some paperwork. Charges and specifications. I think it's Article 30 of the UCMJ. Go file charges and specifications, sir. Very good. I'm going to leave it there. You all have a great day. Thanks for listening. And maybe we can get JD to do something for enlistees and the President of the United States. Be a can-do man, JD. Don't take nobody's bullshit. Just go do it. Thank you very much. Have a great day.